Welcome to the AI Hustle Podcast, the podcast where we break down the latest in AI news, tools, and interview experts helping you hustle and do more using AI. If you've been following the podcast for a while, you'll know that over the last 6 months, I've been working on a stealth AI startup. Of the hundreds of projects I've covered, this is the one that I believe has the greatest potential. So today I'm excited to announce AIBox. AIBox is a no-code AI app building platform paired with the App Store for AI that lets you monetize your AI tools. The platform lets you build apps by linking together AI models like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and ElevenLabs. Eventually will integrate with software like Gmail, Trello, and Salesforce, so you can use AI to automate every function in your organization. To get notified when we launch and be one of the first to build on the platform, you can join the waitlist at aibox.ai. The link is in the show notes. We are currently raising a seed round of funding. If you're an investor that is focused on disruptive tech, I'd love to tell you more about the platform. You can reach out to me at jaden@aibox.ai. I'll leave that email in the show notes. There is a controversial case going on right now in AI and video games that has caused a lot of people to be upset. And so today on the podcast, we're going to talk about it and talk about what has recently happened, which recently Valve has actually responded to claims that it has banned AI-generated games from Steam. So this is actually a fairly rare statement. A bunch of claims were made that Valve was rejecting games with AI-generated assets from its Steam game store. And to be fair, or to be honest, Valve is like notoriously silent on, I don't know, just the whole like developer side of things. They really don't make a lot of public statements. So I think this is kind of a big deal that they have made this. But essentially they are the gatekeeper of PC gaming distribution because Steam is such a massive distributor of PC games. But they said that their policy was evolving and this wasn't a stand against AI, though they did essentially say that they did ban some AI games. And I think a lot of this whole issue kind of came out when a indie game developer, he said that he published a game to to Valve's kind of Steam store or whatever, and it got denied. He has tons of games that he's published in the past. This got denied, and he said that when he was creating this game, he had a number of assets on the game that were fairly obviously AI generated. And, his plan was, just kind of throw up a rough draft of the game with some, more obviously AI generated things and then kind of go and refine them based off of, the adoption of the game. And I've seen a lot of other kind of indie entrepreneurs in a lot of different spaces take similar strategies where essentially they'll create a bunch of different content or, games or a bunch of software or other things that are kind of like, they put out like a beta or like a test version first to see what the adoption, the interest level is on it. And based off of that, whichever ones are the most popular, they go and they spend all of their time and resources to make those ones a lot better. I know everyone has different entrepreneurial styles. This is one that has worked fairly well for me in the past because it's really hard in today's day and age with so many different algorithms and different platforms for distribution to know when you create a piece of content, how it will be distributed and received if you're going to get picked up in an algorithm. And so I think this is probably his idea with this. But when he created it, he very quickly received a letter from Steam saying that his game was, not because it had AI tools or AI assets in there, it was not going to be approved. And essentially, I think the idea or the issue here is that Steam is worried that they don't know who owns the copyright to AI-generated assets, and so they don't, there's a bunch of currently ongoing lawsuits, and so they're currently blocking that, which is really, really interesting. So Steam essentially has a review and approval process, which is a lot like any other app platforms, and its rules on content aren't always clear. And this is also something, to be fair, that a lot of people have accused Google or even Apple. I hear a lot of criticism about Apple in their review process and being someone that owns and, has a bunch of different apps on the App Store. I have seen this before. So this one indie developer that I was referencing, he actually posted this whole thing in a subreddit. And he said that they're no longer essentially willing to publish games with AI-generated content. So I think what is interesting is that the game that he submitted had, quote unquote, a few assets that were fairly obviously AI generated. And so I'm curious to see like at what level they actually comb through a game and they, look at it and how they determine what is AI generated, but according to him, it was fairly obvious. So I'd be curious to see kind of what their level of review is, how they, do they actually run elements or components through AI generating, detectors and whatnot. So I think this is kind of interesting. But this is the quote that they gave him. They said, "As the legal ownership of such AI generated art is unclear, we cannot ship your game while it contains these AI generated assets, unless you can affirmatively confirm that you own the rights to all of the IP used in the data set that trained the AI to create the assets in your game." So here's another interesting thing. About a week after that, they gave him another update, and they said, because I think he tried to resubmit the game, and they said, "We reviewed your game and took our time to better understand the AI tech used to create it. Again, we will strive to ship most titles submitted to us. We cannot ship games for which the developer does not have all of the necessary rights at this time. We are declining to distribute your game since it's unclear if the underlying AI tech used to create the assets has sufficient rights to the training dataset." Now, I'm assuming what they're referring to is Midjourney, and that some of these assets may be created by Midjourney, and that might be one of their issues. Now, while this is a big issue that a lot of people are talking about today, I think what is interesting is this problem has, sort of been solved, right? So recently we had news from Adobe that said any content created on Adobe's new AI image generator, they would actually pay for any lawsuits against any copyright infringements that people may find on it. And the reason that Adobe is so confident in it is because their entire database and platform that their model was trained off of was images that were exclusively owned by them, or they exclusively paid for. And so they essentially have a stock image place, a stock image site, and they used that, which they have the rights to train their entire model, unlike Midjourney or even OpenAI's DALL-E 2, which uses more broadly assets from the internet, which they don't have the rights to. So I think this is really interesting. I think the solution here is to use Adobe's solutions when you're generating some of these assets. But I know this is easier said than done, because Midjourney is by and large, by a long shot, the best text to image generator. And there's a lot of these other tools that are very good at what they do, that are very specific. And so I think it's gonna be a tricky situation, and we'll have to see how a lot of the lawsuits play out. But I have also, while we're talking about video games, I have also seen a lot of really impressive AI tech that it allows you to essentially generate characters within video games, 3D characters with text prompts, and those are all trained off of data sets that the company explicitly had the rights to use. And so I think at the end of the day, it's going to matter a lot more where you get your assets generated, and there'll be probably different ways that you prove, what AI engines you're using to generate your assets. And I think that will resolve a lot of these issues. But at the moment, it definitely is an issue that people are talking about. So I think as the use of AI as a game development tool this isn't actually a controversial topic, just using AI. A lot of major developers like Ubisoft have very, loud, very vocally said that they believe AI assistance is helpful, and they might actually be necessary to build at scale at the rate that they want to, especially when they're talking about metaverses and a lot of things that require just an insane amount of assets. But AI that helps create really realistic mountains or switch up, quest structures is one thing, and generative AI powered by unpaid artists is, what they would say is another. So I think it's not exactly clear what liability, if any, different creators or distributors of this AI art are going to have. We're still waiting for a lot of the lawsuits to kind of settle. But if these creators can't realistically claim copyrights on their own work, I think that Valve has essentially just said that this is a risk, and publishing their games is too high of a risk. So Valve responded to Eurogamer and said that basically their policy is more, what's legally required than any other stance on AI. I don't think they have a problem with AI in general. It's not like they're just banning AI because they dislike it. They said, "We know it is a constantly evolving tech, and our goal is not to discourage the use of it on Steam. Instead, we're working through how to integrate it into our already existing review policies. Stated plainly, our review process is a reflection of current copyright laws and policies, not an added layer of our opinion. As these laws and policies evolve over time, so are our process." So I think in the meantime, Valve says that it's going to refund the normally non-refundable app submission fee for this specific developer, or in any other cases where this is a problem. But I think at the time, it's, not really clear that AI is being used meaningfully outside of a bit of experimentation. So it's going to be interesting to see what actual impact this has on the industry as a whole and how we see this evolving in the future.
If you are looking for an innovative and creative community of people using ChatGPT, you need to join our ChatGPT creators community. I'll drop a link in the description to this podcast. We'd love to see you there, where we share tips and tricks of what is working in ChatGPT. It's a lot easier than a podcast, as you can see screenshots, you can share and comment on things that are currently working. So if this sounds interesting to you, check out the link in the comment. We'd love to have you in the community.
Thanks for tuning in to the AI Hustle podcast. If you could do us a massive favor, we would really, really appreciate it if you could leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. This helps people find the podcast. It helps people know this is a good place to go. And we would really, really appreciate it, as it helps us continue to bring on incredible guests and share incredible content for you to listen to.